Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing as it helps out the channel, and give this video a like if you do like it. Joining me for this cartoon is my good friend, Manny Cruz. Say hi.
Hi, everybody. How things go? Oh, that was terrible. Just keep going. That crash and burn. My Daffy chops are not working today.
No, it's okay. This is a review for Riff Raffy Daffy, released on the 27th of November 1948. It's the 541st in the series, and it's directed by Art Davis. You can currently see this on the Looney Tunes Superstars Porky Pig set, and I'll have a link below to that set. So, Manny, tell me, what happens in this particular cartoon?
In this cartoon, Daffy is apparently homeless and is trying to sleep in the park, but Officer Porky will not let him. So what Daffy does is that he ends up going to a department store where he tries to live the good life, but once again, Officer Porky is on his tail.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself, even though I wrote it. But in any case, just a few bits of trivia for this cartoon. First of all, this is actually the only Art Davis short to have both Porky and Daffy. He's certainly done shorts with the two of them separate, but here he has them together, and it's a shame it's his only one, because this is actually a pretty decent cartoon, which we will certainly get into. Now, there are a few radio references here that might catch people not so much off guard, but they may not understand it these days.
What a revolting development this is!
That was the catchphrase of Chester A. Riley in the Life of Riley radio show.
There's the answer to my $64 question.
That's taken from the radio show Take It or Leave It, where the big prize was $64, which I would love to have right now in my pocket, but in any case. And just finally, there is a brief parody of, well, the department store anyway, that is a parody of Macy's, where you briefly see a sign that says Lacey's. So I would imagine maybe Macy's are just too good to be in a Warner Brothers cartoon. But in any case, now you mentioned to me that you had not seen this one before, and admittedly for me, I saw this before on the Porky set, but I hadn't seen it since, and I completely forgot about it. But this is a good one. I mean, what did you think?
So, yeah, I bought the Porky Pig set that you're referring to, but I never had the chance to watch it. And I'm currently in the process of, watching all the cartoons in chronological order, still in 1939. But anywho, this one I never saw before, and it was, there were moments I really liked. As I've said before, Porky and Daffy are my favorite Looney Tune duo, and it's a shame that, like you said, Art Davis only had one chance to get a crack at it. I will say, though, one thing, and I know next to nothing about film restoration, so those of you that are going to yell at me about the negatives and the inner positives and all that, please hold your Rotten Tomatoes. But I saw that the cartoon is Cinecolor print, that the cartoon was processed in Cinecolor, which I know is inferior to Technicolor. But man, does this transfer look bad. And we've been spoiled, because I know the Porky Pig DVD came out around, I think, 2012, around that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but, compared to the restorations that we've been getting on HBO Max and MeTV, it's like, man, what I would do to see a better looking copy of this cartoon, because it's funny and it has its moments, but it's like, what a shame that the transfer looks so bad.
Could be that the elements maybe weren't up to scratch or something, but who knows? Maybe they'll take another crack at it and do what they did with the Cinecolor Popeye cartoons on the third Popeye Blu-ray set, because those look magnificent, so maybe they just need another chance to fix this one up. So let's go through the cartoon, because like we said, this is a wonderful one. I mean, who doesn't love Porky as a cop? I mean, so great, isn't he?
Well, there's the joke with officers and pigs, and yeah. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. And it's interesting how Daffy is homeless now. It's just a really weird setup. But you said this cartoon actually feels like a sequel to another cartoon, even though it, of course, wasn't actually intended to be. And which cartoon was that?
Yeah, I was watching this one, and it's funny because the same cartoon that I'm about to refer to, I was watching clips of it today, actually. But this cartoon is like a spiritual successor to Daffy Doodles. I'm guessing, Daffy's reign of terror as the mustache bandit finally got to him. Porky brought him to justice, and now he's forced to sleep in a random park, which I'm assuming is New York City, it looks like. But yeah, his mustache days are over.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what it definitely feels like. Tell me though, like how sad was it, like with the groundhog? I mean, when I saw that scene, I'm thinking that would be the equivalent of me going to your apartment, Manny, taking out all your stuff, putting it on the street, and me sleeping in your apartment. It's such a weird gag. I mean, what did you think when you saw that part?
I definitely felt for the groundhog that got evicted to it. But then again, it's kind of weird. Like, you would actually fly from Australia to the United States and kick me out of my own place. I mean, I commend the effort. So bravo to you for that.
Well, I do weird things sometimes, of course.
Yeah.
But as for the rest of the cartoon, there's a lot of funny moments in there, including one particular moment I'll get you to discuss because it's also got a very interesting musical cue.
The scene that made me laugh the most was when Daffy finally enters the department store and Porky's yelling at him through the window. The music that you hear, I was like, I never heard this song before, and I looked it up. It's called Every Little Movement by Carl Hushna. I'm probably saying it incorrectly. But I just loved how the music was telling the story. You could listen to a Warner Brothers cartoon, and just by Carl Stalling's music and the sound effects, you know what's going on. For this scene, I wouldn't say not so much, but I just love how the music was making the scene funnier when you don't hear Daffy and Porky yelling at each other. But then when finally Daffy gets a glass cutter and opens glass and goes through it, the dialogue between Porky and Daffy, I lost it. I don't know what the heck they were saying. It was Mel Blanc, but him not doing Daffy or Porky's voice. And it's just the weird garbled dialogue just made me laugh out loud. It was really funny.
I was very confused by that, going, why aren't they talking in their normal voices? Like, what kind of argument sounds are these? But very, very weird. But speaking of weird, you were saying that you enjoyed the ending too, which I thought was just such a bizarre ending, and it caught me off guard as well as you. What did you think of that ending?
So again, there were certain gags that stood out for me, like the one I just mentioned, whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm debating what rating to give it, but that final joke, Daffy puts on the pity party, and he says, "Oh, my poor Alphonse and Rodrigo." That made me laugh because I went to school with a guy named Rodrigo. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect to hear that in a cartoon from the 40s. And then I'm thinking, how is Davis going to, because I was looking at the runtime, I was like, the cartoon's almost over. How is he going to end this one? And, Porky says, oh, I have kids of myself. And then you see that he has the same mechanical children that Daffy has. And it was so unexpected and weird that I couldn't help but laugh. I enjoyed Art Davis's work in general. I think he was definitely a very talented director that just didn't get the chance to do a lot. But I remember when we were doing Nothing But the Tooth and how disappointed I was at the ending of that cartoon, because I'm like, where's the payoff? Where's that final joke to bring it home? But this one, not that it redeemed the cartoon, because the cartoon was good overall, but it caught me off guard, but in a very good way. How do you feel about that ending? Because it caught you off guard, but how did you feel?
I thought, it's sort of came out of nowhere. I think it was probably a bit too bizarre to fit in with the rest of the cartoon. It just didn't quite make sense. I don't know. Is it the worst ending I've seen? No. But it just didn't fit in what was happening with Porky up until that point. I don't know. It was very bizarre. But what I did like, I enjoyed the axe gag, just the animation on all that, and that's pretty brutal. I mean, he could have done some serious damage to Daffy in those shots.
Oh yeah,
that's some great timing and animation there. And of course, the literal skeleton key.
Get in, gangbuster. With this. Skeleton key, eh?
I know what a skeleton key is, but you don't need a skeleton to show it's a skeleton key. But imagine if they were all like that. It's like, I got a skeleton key. And he just shows this key, but...
I think the opening titles had a song called Don't Take Your Love From Me by Henry Nemo, and I'm like, okay. Maybe he just liked the melody for that one. I don't know what it has to do with the cartoon. But the ending scene, with the baby Porkies, the name of the song playing in the background is Babyface, by Henry Axt. Something like that. AKST. axe, whatever. You were
Axe.
talking about an axe, and and that part was funny with Porky, and axe. Let's just go with it. And again, that part as well as the whole cartoon, Art Davis's animators, it's a feast to the eyes. So,
Exactly right. Exactly. See, I'm giving this cartoon a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's not the most memorable cartoon. There are definitely better cartoons and certainly better Art Davis cartoons, but it's solid enough for me to have a smile throughout the whole thing, despite that very bizarre ending that came out of nowhere, seemingly. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was solid, but just not a classic. How would you rate this one?
I was going to give it a 7, and because of the certain parts it made me laugh in the animation. And again, it's not Davis's best, but it's a pretty good cartoon. That final gag pushed it to 7.5 because I really enjoyed it.
Fair enough. So I'll get all of you guys to tell us. I mean, what do you think of the ending? Because I would have shown that in this review anyway. Let me know whether you thought it was funny or just out of place or just outright bizarre. But other than that, I think that does it for this review. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
See, that's different. Shucks, you can stay here as long as you want.
Thanks, officer. We'll never forget you for this.
Gee, those poor little fellas. I know how it is when you're a father.